Chapter 1. Your focus is being stolen daily, the invisible war. We live in a world that is currently at war. This isn't a war fought with soldiers and tanks, but a war fought for the most valuable resource on the planet: your attention. You wake up in the morning, and before you have even had the chance to process the fact that you are alive, before you have felt the floor beneath your feet or taken your first deep breath of the day, you reach for it. Your smartphone. It sits there on your nightstand, a glowing rectangular gateway to the rest of the world. You tell yourself you're just checking the time. You tell yourself you're just seeing if there are any urgent emails. You tell yourself it will only take a second. But a second is the greatest lie of the 21st century. Within moments, you are no longer in control of your own mind. You are looking at a notification from a social media app. You are reading a headline about a tragedy 5,000 miles away that you cannot influence. You are watching a video of someone you don't know, doing something that doesn't matter. Suddenly, 30 minutes have vanished. Your coffee is cold. Your morning routine is rushed. Your stress levels are already elevated before the sun is fully up. You didn't lose that focus by accident. You didn't accidentally spend 30 minutes scrolling. That time was stolen from you. It was taken by design. The architecture of theft. There are buildings in Silicon Valley filled with the most brilliant minds of our generation. These are people with PhDs in psychology, behavioral economics, and neuroscience. And their primary job, their only job, is to figure out how to keep you looking at that screen for just one more minute. They understand the dopamine loop. They know that every time you pull down to refresh your feed, it's the same psychological mechanism as a person pulling the handle on a slot machine in Las Vegas. You don't know what you're going to get. Most of the time, it's nothing. But every now and then, you get a hit, a like, a comment, an interesting photo, a funny video. That hit releases a tiny burst of dopamine in your brain. Your brain loves dopamine. It craves it. And so, your brain begins to associate that device with a reward. You are being conditioned exactly like Pavlov's dogs. When the phone pings, you salivate for the stimulation. This is why you feel that strange, twitchy anxiety when you aren't holding your phone. This is why you feel a phantom vibration in your pocket even when the phone isn't there. You have been trained to be distracted. You are being farmed for your attention so that companies can sell your data and show you advertisements. Your focus is the currency of the modern age, and right now, you are giving it away for free. The cost of the quick check. We often underestimate the damage of a small distraction. We think, what's the harm in checking my phone for 10 seconds while I'm working on this report? Psychologists call this cognitive switching cost. When you are deeply focused on a task, your brain is in a state of flow. You are firing on all cylinders. But when you stop to check a text message or a notification, your brain has to disconnect from the complex task and reconnect to the distraction. Even if the check only lasts 5 seconds, research shows that it can take your brain up to 23 minutes to return to the same level of deep focus you had before the interruption. If you check your phone 3 times an hour, you are never actually focused. You are living in a state of continuous partial attention. You are operating at 50% of your mental capacity, but you're wondering why you feel so exhausted at the end of the day. You're exhausted because your brain is constantly rebooting every time you let a small thing break your focus. What you tolerate, you lose control of. This is the fundamental law of focus. What you tolerate, you lose control of. If you tolerate a messy desk, you lose control of your physical environment. If you tolerate people interrupting you whenever they feel like it, you lose control of your schedule. If you tolerate your phone being in the room while you work, you lose control of your cognitive potential. Most of us are far too polite to our distractions. We treat a notification like a guest at the door who must be answered immediately. We treat a random thought about a celebrity or a news story like an urgent mission that must be Googled right now. But you have to realize that your focus is a finite resource. You only have a certain amount of it every day. When it's gone, it's gone. When you spend that focus on small things, you are literally stealing from the big things in your life. You are stealing from your career goals. You are stealing from your family. You are stealing from your own peace of mind. The power of the gatekeeper. To take back your focus, you must become a ruthless gatekeeper. You must stop seeing your attention as something that is available to anyone who wants it. Imagine your mind is a high-security vault. Inside that vault are your dreams, your goals, and your ability to create a better life. Outside the vault are millions of distractions trying to get in. Currently, the door to your vault is wide open. Anyone can walk in. A random person on X, Twitter, can walk in and make you angry. A news anchor can walk in and make you afraid. An advertiser can walk in and make you feel inadequate. You must close the door. This starts with a simple realization. Nothing on that screen is more important than what you are doing in the real world. That quick check is a trap. That second of scrolling is a poison. Chapter 1 Exercise. The Focus Audit. Before we move on to Chapter 2, you need to see the theft for yourself. For the next 24 hours, I want you to keep a distraction log. Every time you reach for your phone when you didn't intend to, write it down. Every time you find yourself clicking on a link that has nothing to do with your goal, write it down. Don't judge yourself yet. Just observe. Look at the patterns. Are you checking your phone because you're bored? Because you're stressed? Because the task you're working on is difficult? You will likely find that you are losing 3 to 4 hours a day to nothing. That is 28 hours a week. Over 100 hours a month. Imagine what you could do with an extra 100 hours of focused work every month. You could learn a language. You could start a business. You could transform your body. But you will never have those hours as long as you allow them to be stolen. Repetition, what you tolerate, you lose control of. Say it out loud. Internalize it. Because the theft ends today. In the next chapter, we are going to look at how these tiny, seemingly insignificant lapses in focus are the very things creating massive failure in your life. Chapter 2. Small distractions create massive failure. The myth of the big mistake. We have been lied to about how failure works. We are conditioned by movies and dramatic stories to believe that ruin comes in a single, catastrophic moment. We think failure is a massive car crash, a sudden bankruptcy, or a public scandal that destroys a career overnight. We wait for the big threats to appear on the horizon so we can prepare ourselves to fight them. But life doesn't usually work that way. Failure is not a landslide, it is erosion. Failure is a slow, quiet, and almost invisible process. It is the result of 1,000 tiny concessions. It is the accumulation of moments where you chose the path of least resistance. It is the small thing you let slide because you were tired, bored, or distracted. If I told you that checking your phone for 2 minutes during a work session would cost you $100,000 and 2 years of your life, you would never touch that phone. You would treat it like a poisonous snake. But because the cost of that 2-minute distraction isn't billed to you immediately, you think it's free. It is not free. You are paying for it with your future. You are paying for it with the version of yourself that could have been great, but settled for being busy. The butterfly effect of the minute. Consider the concept of the butterfly effect, the idea that a small flap of a butterfly's wings in Brazil can set off a tornado in Texas. In the world of focus and discipline, the butterfly effect is real and it is deadly. When you allow yourself to be distracted for just 5 minutes, you aren't just losing 5 minutes of time. You are shifting the entire trajectory of your day. That 5-minute distraction leads to a loss of momentum. That loss of momentum leads to a feeling of being behind. That feeling of being behind leads to stress. That stress leads to a desire for more cheap dopamine to soothe the anxiety, so you check your phone again. By the end of the day, you haven't just lost 5 minutes, you've lost the vibe of being a high performer. You've transitioned from a creator to a consumer. Success is built on the back of momentum. Momentum is a fragile thing. It takes a massive amount of energy to get a locomotive moving from a dead stop, but once it's at full speed, it can crash through a brick wall. A small distraction is like putting a tiny pebble on the tracks. If the train is moving fast, it might roll over it. But if you keep putting pebbles on the tracks every few minutes, eventually, the train slows down. Eventually, it stops. And once you are stopped, getting started again feels 10 times harder than it did in the morning. The erosion of the self-promise. The most dangerous part of small distractions isn't what they do to your schedule, it's what they do to your character. Every time you sit down and say, "I'm going to work on this project for 1 hour," and then you break that promise 3 minutes later to check a notification, you are performing a surgery on your own self-respect. You are sending a clear, repeated message to your subconscious mind. My word means nothing. My intentions are weak. I am not in charge here. We wonder why we lack confidence. We think confidence comes from external praise or reaching a big goal. It doesn't. Confidence is simply the reputation you have with yourself. If you have a friend who constantly lies to you, you eventually stop trusting them. If you constantly lie to yourself about what you are going to focus on, you stop trusting yourself. When you lose trust in yourself, you lose your edge. You stop setting big goals because, deep down, you know you won't stay focused long enough to achieve them. You start playing small. You start accepting mediocrity. And it all started because you couldn't stay away from a small thing. The just this once trap. The most seductive lie in the human language is, just this once. I'll just skip this one task, just this once. I'll delay this difficult phone call, just this once. I'll check the news, just this once. Just this once is the gateway drug to a life of total distraction. There is no such thing as just this once. Everything you do is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every time you give in to a small distraction, you are voting for a distracted life. You are training your neural pathways to seek escape the moment things get difficult. High achievers understand that the small things are the big things. They know that skipping one workout, delaying one decision, or breaking one small promise to themselves is the beginning of the end. They don't fear the big mistakes. They fear the tiny lapses in discipline that eventually turn into habits. The compounding interest of failure. We all understand how compounding interest works with money. You save a little bit every day, and over decades, it turns into a fortune. Failure works the exact same way. A 1% decrease in focus every day doesn't seem like much. If you are 1% less effective today, you probably won't notice. But if you are 1% less effective every day for a year, you don't just stay where you are, you mathematically drift toward zero. Think about a ship leaving London for New York. If the navigator shifts the compass by just 1 or 2 degrees, a tiny, small mistake, the ship won't end up in New York. It will end up in South America or Africa. At the beginning of the journey, the deviation is invisible. But after 1,000 miles, that small thing has created a massive failure. Your life is that ship. Your focus is the compass. If you allow small distractions to pull your compass off course for just a second, you will spend years of your life sailing toward a destination you never wanted to visit. Winning the micro-battle. How do we stop this erosion? We stop it by treating every small distraction as if it were a life or death threat. You have to develop a zero-tolerance policy for lapses in discipline. If you said you were going to write, write. If you said you were going to call, call. If you said you were going to sit in silence, sit in silence. The task itself doesn't even matter as much as the act of finishing it. You are training your brain to be a finisher. You are training your brain to ignore the itch of distraction. When that itch comes, and it will, you must recognize it for what it is, an attempt by your lower self to sabotage your higher self. Don't wait for a big moment to be disciplined. There are no big moments. There are only thousands of micro moments. The person who can stay focused on a boring task for 2 hours is the person who will eventually run the company. The person who can ignore their phone while playing with their children is the person who will have a deep, meaningful relationship. The world is full of people who are almost successful. They have the talent. They have the ideas. They have the energy. But they lack the ability to protect their focus from the small things. They are like a bucket with 100 tiny holes in the bottom. No matter how much water you pour in, the bucket is always empty. Patch the holes. Stop the leaks. Realize that every time you stay on task when you want to quit, you are building a version of yourself that is failure-proof. Repetition. Small breaks in discipline create large breaks in results. Say it when you want to check your phone. Say it when you want to hit the snooze button. Say it when you want to skip that last task of the day. If you allow the small breaks, you are inviting the large failure. If you master the small moments, the big results will take care of themselves. Chapter 3. Stop reacting to everything. The age of the trigger. We live in an age of total reactivity. We have been conditioned to believe that every stimulus requires an immediate response. If a light flashes on our dashboard, we look. If a phone pings, we reach. If someone says something offensive online, we argue. If a coworker gives us a sideways glance, we spend the rest of the afternoon dissecting their motives. Most people spend their entire day in a state of defense. They are not moving toward a goal. They are simply dodging the arrows of the day. They are reacting to emails, reacting to news, reacting to their own fluctuating moods, and reacting to the opinions of others. But here is the hard truth. Every time you react, you surrender your power. When you react, you are giving the outside world the remote control to your internal state. You are saying, I will allow this person, this event, or this notification to decide how I feel and what I focus on. If you are a reactive person, you are a puppet. And in the modern world, there are a million strings pulling at you at once. To master your focus, you must become untriggerable. You must develop a stoic shell that allows the world to happen around you without happening to you. The puppet master metaphor. Imagine you are walking down the street, and a stranger walks up to you and starts screaming insults. If you stop, get angry, and start screaming back, that stranger has successfully hijacked your life. For those 10 minutes, they owned you. For the 2 hours following that encounter, while you are still shaking with adrenaline and telling everyone what happened, they still own you. You had a plan for your day. You had goals. You had a mission. But because you chose to react, a total stranger was able to delete your progress and replace it with chaos. This happens every day in smaller, more subtle ways. An email from a difficult client arrives at 9 a.m. Instead of finishing your deep work, you react. You type a defensive reply. You vent to a colleague. You spend 3 hours in a state of low-level irritation. Who won? The email won. You lost. Reaction is the ultimate form of weakness because it proves that you have no internal anchor. It proves that your focus is for sale to the highest bidder, or even the lowest bidder. If a random comment on a social media post can ruin your morning, you are not a leader. You are a victim of your own impulses. The biology of the hijack. To stop reacting, you have to understand what is happening inside your brain. When you feel triggered, whether it's by a rude comment or a minor inconvenience like a traffic jam, your brain's amygdala kicks into gear. This is the lizard brain, the ancient part of your biology designed for survival. The amygdala doesn't know the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and a snarky comment on Instagram. It treats both as a threat to your existence. It floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. It prepares you to fight or flee. In this state, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic, long-term planning, and deep focus, goes offline. You literally become stupider the moment you react. You cannot think clearly. You cannot focus on your work. You are in survival mode. Most people live 90% of their lives in this state of amygdala hijack. They are constantly on edge, waiting for the next thing to be upset about. They think they are being passionate or informed, but they are actually just biologically compromised. They have sacrificed their genius at the altar of their impulses. The power of the gap. There is a famous concept often attributed to Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. The secret to focus is making that space as large as possible. A reactive person has a space of 0. Stimulus happens, and the response follows immediately. Phone pings - pick up. Someone insults them - insult back. A problem arises - panic. A focused person, a powerful person, creates a gap. Phone pings - the gap. - I will check that in 2 hours when my work is done. Someone insults them - the gap. - their opinion is a reflection of their character, not mine. I will stay on task. A problem arises - the gap. - what is the most logical solution? In that gap, you reclaim your humanity. In that gap, you reclaim your focus. You must train yourself to observe your emotions without becoming them. When you feel that surge of irritation or that itch to check a notification, don't fight it. Just watch it. Say to yourself, I'm feeling an urge to react. By labeling it, you move the activity from your lizard brain to your logical brain. You put yourself back in the driver's seat. The trap of outrage culture. We must speak about the modern industry of reaction. We live in an outrage economy. News organizations, social media platforms, and political movements all profit from your reaction. They don't want you to be focused. They want you to be angry. They want you to be engaged, which is just a polite word for addicted to reacting. Every time you spend an hour arguing with a stranger online, or 20 minutes reading a rage-bait headline, you are being used. You are a battery powering someone else's profit margin. You must realize that most of the things you react to do not move your life forward by a single millimeter. If you won every argument on the internet today, would your bank account be higher? Would your relationships be deeper? Would your body be stronger? No. In fact, you would be further away from those things because you spent your limited mental energy on noise. Stop caring about things that don't care about you. Stop giving your precious focus to people who wouldn't spend a single second thinking about your well-being. Training for non-reactivity. How do you build the non-reaction muscle? You start with the small inconveniences. The next time you drop your keys, don't curse. Just pick them up. The next time you are in a long line at the store, don't huff and puff. Just stand there and breathe. The next time someone cuts you off in traffic, don't honk your horn and turn red. Just keep driving. These seem like small things, but they are the gym for your focus. If you can stay calm when you drop your keys, you can stay calm when a business deal falls through. If you can ignore a rude comment from a stranger, you can ignore the distractions that try to pull you away from your deep work. You must become a black hole for negativity. Let it come toward you and simply disappear into the void of your discipline. Don't reflect it back. Don't amplify it. Just let it end with you. Control is power. The world respects the person who cannot be moved. There is a quiet, terrifying power in the person who does not react. When everyone else is panicking, the focused person is calculating. When everyone else is arguing, the focused person is producing. When everyone else is being pulled by their emotions, the focused person is being driven by their mission. Reaction is a sign that you are still a child of your environment. Control is a sign that you have become the master of it. Every time you choose not to react to a small thing, you are saving that energy for a big thing. You are preserving your focus for the tasks that will actually change your life. Your focus is your life's blood. Don't bleed out over minor inconveniences. Keep it inside. Use it for your purpose. Repetition, reaction is weakness. Control is power. As you move through the rest of your day, look for the triggers. See them as tests. When the world tries to pull a reaction out of you, smile to yourself and stay silent. You are not losing. You are winning. You are taking back the remote control. You are becoming the master of your own mind. Chapter 4. Train your mind to ignore noise. The ocean of static. We live in the loudest era in human history. I'm not just talking about the decibel level of the city streets or the hum of machinery. I am talking about mental noise. We are submerged in an ocean of static, a constant, unrelenting stream of data, opinions, headlines, and social chatter that follows us from the moment we wake up until the second we fall asleep. Most people have become so accustomed to this noise that they no longer even realize it's there. They think it's normal to have 100 different thoughts about 100 different irrelevant things bouncing around their skull at any given moment. They think it's normal to know what a celebrity said in an interview, what a politician tweeted 3 minutes ago, and what their high school acquaintance had for lunch. But here is the truth that will change your life. Not everything deserves your attention. In fact, most things don't. Your mind is a high-performance engine. If you put sand in the gas tank of a Ferrari, it won't matter how powerful the engine is, it will stall. Noise is the sand in your mental gas tank. Every piece of irrelevant drama, every minute spent on gossip, and every hour lost to staying informed about things you cannot change is sand that slows you down. Signal versus noise. In the world of radio and communication, there is a concept called the signal-to-noise ratio. The signal is the message you want to hear, the music, the voice, the data. The noise is the background static that interferes with the signal. To have a successful life, you must have a high signal-to-noise ratio. Your signal is your purpose, your work, your family, and your personal growth. Everything else, the online feuds, the office politics, the celebrity scandals, the constant stream of breaking news, is noise. The problem is that noise is often louder than the signal. Noise is designed to be loud. It's designed to be colorful, shocking, and emotionally charged because that is how it captures your attention. The signal, on the other hand, is often quiet. Deep work is quiet. Building a business is quiet. Becoming a better person is a silent, internal process. If you don't intentionally train your mind to ignore the noise will eventually drown out your signal entirely. You will spend your life reacting to the loudest things rather than focusing on the most important things. The addiction to drama. Why do we find it so hard to ignore the noise? Why is it that when we see an argument happening in a comment section or hear a piece of juicy gossip about a coworker, we find it nearly impossible to look away? It's because your brain is evolutionarily wired for it. For our ancestors, gossip was a survival mechanism. Knowing who was sleeping with whom, who was angry with whom, and who was breaking the rules of the tribe was a matter of life and death. If you were in the know, you were safe. If you were out of the loop, you could be cast out. But we no longer live in a small tribe of 50 people. We live in a global village of 8 billion. Your brain is still trying to track the social status and drama of thousands of people it will never meet. You are using 200,000-year-old hardware to navigate a digital landscape, and it's causing your focus to crash. You have to realize that most drama is a simulation. It is a fake fire designed to keep you warm with a sense of self-importance or moral superiority. But it doesn't move your life forward. Arguing about a hot take on the internet doesn't pay your mortgage. Worrying about a celebrity's divorce doesn't improve your marriage. Every time you engage with drama, you are essentially saying, I have nothing better to do with my life than to focus on the trivialities of yours. Is that the message you want to send to yourself? The delusion of being informed. One of the most common excuses people use for inviting noise into their lives is the need to be informed. They spend hours every day consuming the news, convinced that they are being responsible citizens. But let's look at the signal of the news. How much of what you read in the news today will matter in a week, in a month, in a year? The news is designed to keep you in a state of low-level anxiety. It focuses on the exceptional, the tragic, and the controversial because that is what generates clicks and views. It gives you the illusion of knowledge without the power of action. If you spend 2 hours a day reading about a crisis on the other side of the planet that you have zero power to influence, you aren't informed. You are distracted. You are emotionally exhausted by things that do not involve you. Focused people practice selective ignorance. They realize that if something is truly important, it will find its way to them. They don't go looking for the news. They wait for the signal to become loud enough to matter. They would rather be uninformed about the trivial than distracted from the vital. Building the filter. To protect your focus, you must build a mental filter. You must start asking yourself one question before you let anything into your mind. Does this build me? When someone starts telling you a story about someone else's failure, does this build me? No. It trains your mind to look for the negative in others. When you feel the urge to click on a trending topic that makes you angry, does this build me? No. It drains your emotional energy. When you find yourself scrolling through a feed of people showing off their lifestyles, does this build me? No. It fuels the fire of comparison and inadequacy. If it doesn't build your character, your bank account, your health, or your relationships, it is breaking your focus. There is no neutral ground. Everything you consume is either a brick or a sledgehammer. It is either helping you build the life you want, or it is breaking down the walls of your discipline. The virtue of not knowing. There is a profound peace that comes with the phrase, I don't know anything about that. We are pressured to have an opinion on everything. We feel ashamed if we aren't up to date on the latest trend or controversy. But there is a massive competitive advantage in being the person who doesn't know about the noise. While everyone else is talking about the thing of the day, you are working. While everyone else is getting their blood pressure up over headline, you are sleeping or reading a book that was written 100 years ago. While everyone else is being pulled in 1,000 directions by the noise, you are moving in one single direction toward your goal. Ignorance of the trivial is the prerequisite for mastery of the essential. Chapter 4 Exercise. The Noise Fast. For the next 48 hours, I want you to go on a noise fast. No social media. Delete the apps or lock them away. No news. Don't check a single headline. No gossip. If someone tries to tell you something interesting about someone else, politely excuse yourself or change the subject. No radio podcasts in the car. Drive in silence. At first, the silence will be uncomfortable. You will feel a phantom itch to check your phone. You will feel like you are missing out. But after a few hours, something miraculous will happen. Your mind will begin to settle. The static will begin to clear. You will start to have original thoughts again. You will find that your focus returns naturally because it is no longer being crowded out by the noise of the world. You are training your mind to realize that the world keeps spinning even if you aren't watching it. You are proving to yourself that you don't need the noise to survive, and that you certainly don't need it to thrive. Repetition, if it doesn't build you, it's breaking you. Carry this phrase like a shield. When the noise tries to penetrate your mind, hold up the shield. Is this a brick? Or is this a sledgehammer? Choose the bricks. Ignore the rest. Chapter 5. Discipline is built in the small moments. The waiting room of success. Most people spend their lives waiting. They are waiting for a sign. They are waiting for a calling. They are waiting for that one big, monumental moment where their life will suddenly demand greatness from them. They imagine that one day, the stakes will be so high and the reward so great that they will magically find the discipline they have lacked for years. They think discipline is a suit of armor you put on for a battle. But discipline is not the armor. Discipline is the training you did for 10 years before the battle ever started. If you cannot find the focus to finish a simple administrative task today, what makes you think you will have the focus to lead a multimillion-dollar company tomorrow? If you cannot find the discipline to put your phone away during a dinner with your family, why do you believe you'll have the discipline to stay calm during a global economic crisis? The truth is this: focus is not built in the big decisions. It is built in the micro decisions you make every single hour of every single day. The illusion of the grand gesture. We are obsessed with the big moment. We love the stories of the entrepreneur who stayed up for 72 hours straight to finish a product, or the athlete who hit the game-winning shot. We see the result, and we think, I want that. But the game-winning shot was actually decided at 5 a.m. on a Tuesday 3 years ago when that athlete decided to take 500 practice shots in an empty gym while everyone else was sleeping. The entrepreneur's success was decided in the thousands of small moments where they chose to stay at their desk instead of going out with friends. Success is not a grand gesture. It is a boring, repetitive, and often invisible series of small wins. When you decide to wake up at the first alarm instead of hitting snooze, that is a win. When you decide to drink water instead of a sugary soda, that is a win. When you decide to keep your phone in another room while you work, that is a win. Separately, these things seem insignificant. You might think, missing one snooze button won't make me a millionaire. And you're right. But it's not about the alarm clock. It's about the precedent. It's about the habit of honoring your word to yourself. Every time you win a micro moment, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. The escape reflex. To master the small moments, you must understand the escape reflex. Your brain is a survival machine, and it views cognitive effort, hard work, deep thinking, or complex problem solving as a threat to its energy reserves. When a task becomes difficult, boring, or uncomfortable, your brain immediately looks for an escape hatch. You've felt this. You're working on a project, and suddenly you feel an almost physical itch. Your hand moves toward your phone. You suddenly feel the need to check the weather. You decide that right now is the perfect time to clean your desk or check your email for the 10th time today. This is the escape reflex. This is the exact moment where your discipline is either built or destroyed. Most people give in to the reflex. They tell themselves, I just need a 2-minute break. But as we discussed in Chapter 1, there is no such thing as a 2-minute break. The moment you give in to the escape, you have trained your brain that it doesn't have to endure discomfort. You have taught your mind that when things get hard, it can quit. Discipline is the act of staying in the chair when the reflex hits. It is the ability to acknowledge the itch and refuse to scratch it. The small moment is that 3-second window where you decide to either click a new tab or stay on the current one. If you win those 3 seconds, you win the day. Falling to your habits. There is a famous quote by the Greek poet Archilochus: "We don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training." This is one of the most important psychological truths you will ever hear. When the pressure is on, when you are tired, when you are stressed, when you are overwhelmed, you will not magically become a hero. You will fall back on the habits you built in the small, quiet moments when no one was watching. If your training is to check your phone every 5 minutes, you will fall to that level of distraction during your most important meetings. If your training is to procrastinate until the last second, you will fall to that level of panic when a real opportunity arises. You are training every single day. The question is, what are you training for? Are you training yourself to be a person who is easily distracted? Are you training yourself to be a person who seeks constant stimulation? Or are you training yourself to be a person who finishes what they start? You cannot build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand. Your habits are the foundation. If the foundation is made of small moments of laziness and distraction, the entire structure will collapse the moment the wind blows. The 5 more minutes rule. One of the most powerful ways to build discipline in the small moments is what I call the 5 more minutes rule. When you are working and you feel that overwhelming urge to quit, when your brain is screaming at you to check your messages or go get a snack, tell yourself, "I will do 5 more minutes." In those 5 minutes, you aren't just doing work. You are performing a resistance training session for your focus. You are teaching your brain that you are the master, not your impulses. You are expanding your focus threshold. Often, you'll find that once those 5 minutes are over, the urge to escape has passed, and you can keep going for another hour. But even if you do quit after 5 minutes, you have won. You stayed longer than your impulses wanted you to. You exercised your willpower muscle. Over time, those 5 more minutes accumulate. They turn into an extra hour a day, an extra 5 hours a week, and an extra 250 hours a year. That is the difference between being average and being a master of your craft. The sacredness of the small. We have a habit of devaluing the small things because they are easy to do and also easy not to do. It is easy to put your phone in a drawer. It is also easy to leave it on the desk. It is easy to focus on one browser tab. It is also easy to open 10. It is easy to finish the last paragraph of a report. It is also easy to leave it for tomorrow. Because these things are small, we think they don't count. We think we can be sloppy in the small things and still be disciplined in the big things. But there is no such thing as a small moment of discipline. Every single choice you make is either strengthening your focus or weakening it. There is no neutral ground. You are either getting better or you are getting worse. A master craftsman doesn't just care about the front of the cabinet that everyone sees. He cares about the back of the cabinet that is pushed against the wall. He knows that his integrity is tied to the quality of the work no one will ever see. Your focus is your craft. Treat the small moments of your day with the same reverence you would treat $1 million contract. If you are a person of discipline in the dark, you will be a person of power in the light. Chapter 5 Exercise. The Micro-Win Streak. Starting right now, I want you to go for a micro-win streak. For the next 4 hours, your goal is not to finish your work. Your goal is to win every micro moment. If you think about checking your phone, don't. That's a win. If you think about opening a news site, don't. That's a win. If you feel like getting up for no reason, stay seated. That's a win. See how many wins you can stack in a row. Treat it like a game. When you win a micro moment, acknowledge it. Say to yourself, that's a win. You are building a new identity. You are becoming a person who cannot be broken by small things. You are realizing that the path to the top of the mountain isn't one giant leap. It's 10,000 small steps taken with absolute focus. Repetition. You don't rise to goals, you fall to habits. Stop worrying about the big goal for a moment. Start worrying about the small moment. If you take care of the habits, the goals will take care of themselves. Chapter 6. Your environment is controlling you. The invisible architect. We like to believe that we are the masters of our own souls. We like to think that our decisions are made by our conscious will, that if we want to focus, we simply choose to focus. But science and human experience tell a very different story. You are not just a mind. You are a biological organism living in a specific habitat. And just as a plant cannot grow in toxic soil, a mind cannot focus in a toxic environment. Your environment is the invisible architect of your behavior. It is constantly nudging you, pushing you, and pulling you towards certain actions without you even realizing it. If you walk into a kitchen and there is a bowl of fresh cookies on the counter, you are significantly more likely to eat one, not because you are hungry, but because the environment suggested it. If you sit down at a desk and your phone is lying face up next to your keyboard, you will check it, not because you have a message, but because the environment made it the easiest possible action to take. Most people are trying to use willpower to overcome a bad environment. They are trying to swim upstream against a massive current. You might be able to do it for a few minutes, or even an hour, but eventually you will get tired. And the moment you get tired, the environment wins. The secret of the most focused people on earth isn't that they have superhuman willpower. It's that they have designed an environment where they don't need willpower. They have cleared the path so that focus is the only logical outcome. The chaos of visual noise. Your brain is constantly processing information, even when you aren't consciously looking at it. This is known as visual noise. If your workspace is covered in old coffee cups, piles of paper, random gadgets, and unfinished business, your brain is performing a background scan of all those items. Every object in your field of vision is a micro-reminder of something else you need to do or something you haven't finished. The pile of papers reminds you of the taxes you haven't filed. The dirty cup reminds you of the chore you're avoiding. The clutter is literally screaming for your attention, even if you think you're ignoring it. This creates a state of low-level cognitive load. You are using 20% of your brain power just to ignore the mess, leaving you with only 80% to do your actual work. A chaotic environment creates a chaotic mind. When your physical space is structured and clean, your mental space follows suit. There is a reason why high-security military bunkers and top-tier research labs are minimalist. It's because they know that focus requires a blank canvas. If you want to stop letting small things break your focus, you must stop surrounding yourself with small things that have no purpose. The digital pollutants. In the modern world, your environment isn't just physical, it's digital. And the digital environment is far more dangerous because it follows you everywhere. Your phone is not a tool. For most people, it is an environmental pollutant. Every notification is a chemical spill in your brain. Every red bubble on an app icon is a tiny alarm bell designed to trigger your anxiety until you click it. Think about your current digital environment. How many tabs do you have open right now? How many apps are sending you push notifications that you don't actually need? Most people have their environment set to full interruption mode by default. They allow news apps, shopping apps, and social media platforms to tap them on the shoulder whenever they want. You would never allow a stranger to walk into your office every 5 minutes and scream a random sentence at you while you were working. Yet, that is exactly what you allow your digital environment to do. If you don't curate your digital space, you are living in a crowded, noisy room where everyone is shouting for your attention. You cannot think deeply in a room like that. You must mute the world if you want to hear your own thoughts. The people who drain your battery. Your environment also includes the people you spend your time with. There are 2 types of people in this world, fountain people and drain people. Fountain people provide energy, clarity, and focus. They challenge you to be better. They respect your time and your mission. Drain people, the focus vampires, do the opposite. They bring gossip. They bring trivial drama. They complain about things they won't fix. They interrupt your deep work to talk about something that could have been an email. Energy is contagious. If you are surrounded by people who have no direction and no focus, you will eventually drift into their orbit. It is almost impossible to stay focused on a big mission when your social environment is telling you that it's not that serious or let's just relax and watch a show. You must be ruthless with your social environment. This doesn't mean you have to be cruel, but it means you must be protective. You cannot let the small minds of others break the big focus of your life. If someone is constantly draining your battery without ever helping you recharge it, you need to change the environment. The default effect, designing for success. The most powerful tool in environmental control is the default effect. Humans tend to take the path of least resistance. We do whatever is easiest. If your default environment is a phone on the desk and a TV in the background, you will be distracted. That is the path of least resistance. To win, you must change your defaults. You must make the right thing the easy thing and the wrong thing the hard thing. If you want to focus on work, the default should be your phone in a completely different room, turned off. Make it hard to check it. You would have to get up, walk across the house, and wait for it to boot up. Most of the time, your laziness will actually work in your favor and keep you focused. If you want to eat healthy, the default should be prepped meals in the front of the fridge and no junk food in the house. If you want to read more, the default should be a book sitting on your pillow, not a remote control on the nightstand. You are moving from a reactive life to a designed life. Instead of fighting your environment, you are engineering it to support you. When the environment is on your side, focus becomes an effortless habit rather than a daily struggle. The sanctuary of focus. You need to create a sanctuary. This is a specific physical space that is dedicated to one thing and one thing only: deep focus. When you enter this space, whether it's a specific desk, a corner of a library, or even a specific chair, your brain should receive a signal that says, the world is gone. Only the work remains. In this sanctuary, there are no notifications. There is no clutter. There are no people who are allowed to interrupt you. There is no noise. When you treat your environment as sacred, your focus becomes sacred. You begin to develop a psychological anchor. Just as your brain associates your bed with sleep, it will begin to associate your sanctuary with intense, unbreakable concentration. Chapter 6 Exercise. The Environmental Audit. Today, I want you to perform a full environmental audit in 3 stages. The physical audit. Clear your workspace. If you haven't used an object in the last week, it shouldn't be on your desk. Organize your cables. Clean the windows. Create a zero-G environment where there is nothing to catch your eye. The digital audit. Go through your phone and turn off all non-human notifications. If it's not a text or a call from a real person who matters, you don't need a buzz or a light. Delete the apps that you check compulsively. Set your home screen to be blank or have only tools, calendar, notes, calculator. The social audit. Look at the 5 people you interact with most. Do they respect your focus? Do they have goals of their own? If not, plan how you will limit your exposure to their noise during your working hours. You are the gardener of your own mind. If you allow weeds to grow in your environment, they will eventually choke the life out of your focus. Pull the weeds. Clear the ground. Protect the soil. Repetition. Control your environment, or it controls you. Do not leave your success to chance. Do not trust your willpower. Trust your design. Build a world that makes it impossible to fail, and you will find that focus is no longer something you have to do, it is something that simply happens. Chapter 7. Stop seeking stimulation. The dopamine trap. We are living in the era of the hyperstimulated mind. Never before in human history has a person been able to summon an infinite stream of entertainment, information, and social validation with a single thumb swipe. We have become a species of dopamine addicts, and like any addict, our tolerance is reaching dangerous levels. You know the feeling. You sit down to do one thing, perhaps to read a book, write a report, or simply think, and within 90 seconds, a strange, phantom itch begins to crawl up your spine. It is a restless, twitchy sensation. You feel a sudden, urgent need to check your email, then your messages, then the news, then a quick glance at a video. You aren't hungry. You aren't in danger. You are simply suffering from stimulation withdrawal. Your brain has been conditioned to expect a high-intensity hit of new information every few minutes. When that hit doesn't come, your brain begins to panic. It views silence as a void that must be filled. It views a single, focused task as a prison that must be escaped. But here is the fundamental truth of high performance. Your addiction to constant stimulation is the single greatest barrier to your success. You cannot build an empire on a brain that is constantly vibrating with the noise of cheap entertainment. The myth of the multitasking high. Many people wear their multitasking like a badge of honor. They take pride in having 15 tabs open, music playing in their ears, a podcast in the background, and a phone buzzing on the desk while they work. They feel busy. They feel wired. They feel like they are moving at the speed of light. But they are actually moving at the speed of zero. Science has proven, repeatedly, that the human brain cannot multitask. What you are actually doing is context switching. You are rapidly firing and refiring different neural circuits. This process creates a false sense of productivity because it keeps your dopamine levels high. You feel like you're doing a lot because your brain is working overtime just to keep up with the switches. However, context switching comes with a massive cognitive tax. Every time you switch from a task to a distraction and back again, you lose a portion of your IQ for that moment. You are essentially working in a state of self-induced brain fog. The most successful people in the world don't switch. They dive. They pick one thing and they go deep. They understand that a shallow brain can only produce shallow results. If you want to create something of value, you must be willing to lower the stimulation and increase the depth. The fear of silence. Why do we seek stimulation so desperately? Why do we feel the need to put on a podcast the moment we step into a car, or scroll through a feed while we wait in line for 30 seconds? It's because silence is a mirror. When you remove the stimulation, you are left alone with your own thoughts. You are left with your anxieties, your insecurities, and the truth of your current situation. For most people, that mirror is terrifying. They use stimulation as a digital sedative. They use the noise of the world to drown out the voice of their own soul. But that voice, the one that speaks in the silence, is where your best ideas live. It is where your intuition resides. It is where you find the clarity to solve your biggest problems. When you flee from silence, you are fleeing from your own genius. You are choosing to be a consumer of other people's noise rather than a creator of your own life. To be focused, you must become comfortable with the quiet. You must be able to sit in a room alone with nothing but a pen and a piece of paper and not feel the urge to jump out of your skin. The erosion of the deep work muscle. Think of your focus like a muscle. To grow a muscle, you must put it under tension. You must lift a heavy weight and hold it. Deep work, the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task, is the heavy lifting of the mind. But because we are constantly seeking stimulation, we are letting our focus muscle atrophy. We have spent years lifting digital feathers, 5-second clips, 280-character thoughts, and instant messages. Now, when life demands that we lift a heavy weight, a complex project, a difficult conversation, or a long-term goal, our muscle fails. We can't hold the weight for more than 2 minutes before we drop it and reach for the feather of a notification. If you don't stop seeking constant stimulation, you will eventually lose the ability to do anything difficult. You will become a low-resolution version of yourself. You will have 1,000,000 ideas but zero execution. You will have 1,000 interests but zero mastery. Lowering the stimulation floor. To take back your focus, you must perform what is known as a dopamine detox. You must intentionally lower the stimulation floor of your life. Think of your brain like a radio. Currently, your volume is turned up to 100. You are blasted with high-intensity stimuli all day long. Because the volume is so high, you can no longer hear the quiet things, the subtle insights, the deep thoughts, the slow progress. You need to turn the volume down to 10. Eat your meals without a screen. Just eat. Taste the food. Drive your car in total silence. No music. No podcasts. Just the road. Walk for 15 minutes without headphones. Observe the world around you. Wait in line without reaching for your phone. Just stand there. Be bored. At first, this will feel like torture. Your brain will scream for a hit of dopamine. You will feel bored, restless, and irritable. Good. This is the resistance that builds the muscle. When you lower the stimulation floor, something incredible happens. The boring work starts to become interesting. When you aren't constantly flooded with high-octane entertainment, a complex work task actually provides enough stimulation to keep you engaged. You regain the ability to find joy in the process, rather than just the hit of completion. Comfort versus strength. Seeking stimulation is a search for comfort. It is an attempt to avoid the pain of boredom or the stress of a difficult task. But comfort is the enemy of focus. Focus is born in the struggle. It is forged in the moments when you choose to stay with a problem rather than escaping into a distraction. Every time you choose the hard path of silence over the easy path of stimulation, you are getting stronger. Imagine a soldier in a foxhole. If that soldier is constantly checking his equipment, looking at pictures of home, or fidgeting with his gear, he is distracted. He is weak. He is a target. The strong soldier is the one who can sit perfectly still, in total silence, for hours, waiting for the right moment to act. Your right moment is your work. Your foxhole is your desk. Stop fidgeting with digital toys. Stop looking for a hit of comfort. Embrace the cold, hard reality of the task at hand. Strength is not found in the noise, it is found in the stillness. Chapter 7 Exercise. The Hour of Boredom. Today, I want you to schedule 1 hour of planned boredom. For 60 minutes, you are not allowed to consume anything. No phone, no computer, no book, no music, no talking. You can sit on a chair. You can look out a window. You can pace around the room. You can have a notebook and a pen to write down your thoughts, but that is it. In the first 20 minutes, your mind will go crazy. You will have 1,000 urgent ideas of things you need to check. You will feel an intense urge to quit. Ignore it. In the second 20 minutes, you will start to feel a deep sense of calm. Your heart rate will slow. The static in your brain will begin to fade. In the final 20 minutes, you will likely have a breakthrough. Without the constant input of other people's thoughts, your own brain will finally have the bandwidth to create something new. You will see a solution to a problem that has been bothering you for weeks. You will find a clarity that you haven't felt in years. You will realize that stimulation was never the fuel for your fire. It was the smoke that was blinding you. Repetition. Comfort weakens focus. Silence strengthens it. Memorize this. When you feel the urge to reach for a distraction, say it to yourself. Remind yourself that you are choosing strength over comfort. You are choosing the diamond-hard focus of silence over the soft, blurry fog of stimulation. Chapter 8. Focus requires sacrifice. The brutal math of focus. We often talk about focus as if it is a positive addition to our lives, as if we are simply adding a new skill or incorporating a better habit. But the reality of focus is much more aggressive and much more painful. Focus is not about what you do. It is about what you are willing to give up. In the language of optics, to focus a lens on one specific point, the rest of the image must become a blur. If every part of the image is sharp, nothing is in focus. Life works exactly the same way. If you try to make everything in your life important, your social life, your hobbies, your rest, your side projects, and your main career, nothing will be in focus. Focus is an act of exclusion. It is a surgical strike against the good so that the great has room to breathe. Most people are terrified of this. They want the results of deep focus, but they aren't willing to pay the opportunity cost. They want the successful business, but they don't want to sacrifice the 4 hours of television every night. They want the peak physical condition, but they don't want to sacrifice the comfort of the easy meal. They want the unbreakable attention span, but they don't want to sacrifice the connection they feel to their social media feed. You must accept the brutal math of the universe. You cannot stay focused and stay comfortable at the same time. Growth and comfort do not coexist. To move toward your future, you must be willing to burn the bridges that lead back to your distractions. The myth of having it all. We are sold a lie by modern society that we can have it all. We are told we can be a social butterfly, a top-tier professional, a world traveler, and a perfectly relaxed individual all at once. This is a recipe for mediocrity. When you try to have it all, you end up with a life that is a mile wide and an inch deep. You are spread so thin that you have no impact. You are like a light bulb. You provide a soft, ambient glow that lights up a room, but you can't penetrate anything. The focused person is a laser. A laser takes the same amount of energy as a light bulb, but it concentrates it into a single, microscopic point. Because of that concentration, a laser can cut through steel. But to become a laser, you have to sacrifice the glow. You have to stop trying to light up everything and everyone. You have to accept that your world will become smaller and quieter. You have to accept that while others are enjoying the wide life, you are committed to the deep life. Sacrifice is the price of power. If you are unwilling to sacrifice the trivial, you have already decided that your goals aren't actually that important to you. Saying no to good people. One of the hardest sacrifices you will ever make is the sacrifice of other people's expectations. When you decide to truly focus, you will become unavailable. You will stop answering texts immediately. You will turn down invitations to just grab a drink or hop on a quick call. You will stop being the person who is always there to listen to someone else's gossip. To the world, this looks like selfishness. Your friends might call you distant. Your family might tell you that you're working too hard. They will try to pull you back into the comfort zone of the collective distraction. This is the ultimate test of your focus. Are you willing to be misunderstood? Are you willing to let people be disappointed in you so that you don't disappoint your future self? Every time you say yes to a social obligation that you don't really want to attend, you are saying no to the work that could change your life. Every time you allow a small interruption from a friend, you are telling the universe that your mission is secondary to their boredom. You must develop the polite no. You don't have to be a jerk, but you must be a fortress. You must guard your time with the same ferocity that a dragon guards its gold. Time is the only thing you can never get back. If you sacrifice it to please people who aren't on your path, you are committing a crime against your own potential. The sacrifice of easy. Our brains are wired to seek the easy path. We have a biological preference for the path of least resistance. Distraction is easy. Scrolling is easy. Reacting is easy. Focus is hard. It is a weightlifting session for the soul. When you choose focus, you are sacrificing the easy life. You are choosing a path of mental strain, of long hours in the dark, and of the frustration that comes with solving difficult problems. Most people quit the moment they hit the pain wall of focus. They work for 20 minutes, it gets difficult, and they immediately seek the easy exit. They check their phone because it provides an instant hit of comfort to relieve the pressure of the work. You must learn to love the pressure. You must sacrifice the need to feel relaxed during your working hours. Work is not for relaxation. Work is for production. If you want to relax, do it when the mission is over. But while the sun is up and the clock is ticking, you must sacrifice the easy for the effective. The zero-sum game of yes. Every yes has a shadow no. If you say yes to that Netflix series, you are saying no to 2 hours of sleep or 2 hours of study. If you say yes to a quick check of Instagram, you are saying no to the flow state that creates masterpieces. If you say yes to a toxic relationship, you are saying no to the mental peace required for deep focus. We often think we can just add things to our schedule. We think we can do the work and keep the distractions. But your brain doesn't have infinite bandwidth. Your attention budget is fixed. When you spend $50 of your attention on a small thing, that $50 is gone. It cannot be spent on your big thing. Stop looking at distractions as free time. They are the most expensive things you own. They are costing you your dreams. They are costing you the respect of your peers. They are costing you the version of yourself that could have been legendary. The altar of greatness. In ancient times, people believed that to get something from the gods, you had to offer a sacrifice on an altar. You had to give up something of value, a prize animal, a portion of the harvest, to show that you were serious. The gods of focus and success are no different. They demand a sacrifice. They want to see what you are willing to lay on the altar. Are you willing to lay your need to be liked on the altar? Are you willing to lay your addiction to entertainment on the altar? Are you willing to lay your fear of being alone on the altar? If you try to keep everything, you will get nothing. But if you are willing to walk to the altar and set fire to the things that are holding you back, the gods of focus will grant you a clarity and a power that most people will never understand. The weight of the sacrifice is the measure of the result. Big sacrifice, big focus. Small sacrifice, no focus. Chapter 8 Exercise. The sacrifice list. I want you to take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. On the left side, write down 3 big goals you want to achieve in the next 12 months. On the right side, write down 5 things you will stop doing to make those goals possible. Be specific. Don't just write, be less distracted. Write, I will stop checking my phone before 10 a.m. I will stop saying yes to Friday night happy hours. I will stop reading news comments. I will stop having more than 2 browser tabs open. I will stop answering non-emergency texts during work hours. Look at that list on the right. That is your sacrifice list. For the next 30 days, I want you to treat those no's as sacred. Whenever you feel the urge to break one of those rules, look at the left side of the paper. Remind yourself what you are trading. Are you really willing to trade your business for a news comment? Are you really willing to trade your peace of mind for a quick check of an app? Repetition. Every yes to distraction is a no to your future. Focus is not a gift. It is a trade. You give up the small things of today so you can own the big things of tomorrow. Every time you say no to a distraction, you are saying yes to the person you are becoming. Make the trade. Pay the price. Own the future. Chapter 9. Build an unbreakable attention span. The myth of the fixed mind. We often talk about our attention span as if it were a height or a blood type, something we are simply born with and stuck with for life. You hear people say, I just have a short attention span, or I've always been easily distracted, as if they are describing a permanent disability. This is one of the most self-destructive lies you can believe. Your attention span is not a fixed trait. It is a dynamic muscle. And like any muscle in the human body, it operates on the principle of use it or lose it. If you spent 6 months sitting in a wheelchair, your leg muscles would atrophy to the point where you could no longer walk. If you spend years sitting in the wheelchair of digital distraction, constantly scrolling, clicking, and switching, your attention muscle atrophies until you can no longer think deeply for more than 2 minutes. But the reverse is also true. Through the power of neuroplasticity, your brain can be rewired. You can take a weak, scattered, butterfly mind and transform it into a laser-focused, unbreakable engine of productivity. You aren't broken. You are just out of shape. To build an unbreakable attention span, you must stop treating focus as a gift and start treating it as a training regimen. You must move from being a victim of your distractions to being the athlete of your attention. The bicep curl of the mind. What does it actually look like to work out your focus? Most people think that a focus session is one where their mind never wanders. They sit down to work, and the moment a random thought about a sandwich or a news story pops into their head, they get frustrated. They think, I'm failing. I'm not focused. But they have it backward. The moment your mind wanders is not the failure. It is the opportunity. In weightlifting, the muscle grows when it meets resistance. In focus training, the resistance is the distraction. Every time your mind drifts away from your work and you consciously catch it and pull it back to the task, that motion of pulling back is a bicep curl for your brain. The more times you pull your mind back, the stronger the attention muscle becomes. If you never had to pull your mind back, you wouldn't be training at all. Stop being angry when you get distracted. Instead, see it as a rep. Catch the thought, refuse to follow it, and return to the work. Do this 1,000 times, and you will develop a mind that is functionally immovable. You are training the executive function of your prefrontal cortex to overrule the impulse function of your lower brain. The threshold of frustration. When you start training your attention span, you will hit a wall. For most people, this wall appears around the 15 to 20 minute mark. You're working, you're making progress, and suddenly you feel a wave of agitation. You feel done. You feel an intense, almost physical need to do anything else. Your brain starts making excuses. I've done enough for now. I should check my email real quick. I'll be more productive if I take a break. This is the threshold of frustration. This is the burn you feel in your muscles at the end of a set. If you quit the moment you feel the burn, you will never grow. The gains in your attention span are made after you hit the wall. When you feel that urge to quit and you stay in the chair for just 10 more minutes, You are expanding your capacity. You are teaching your nervous system that boredom and frustration are not emergencies. Over time, that 20-minute wall becomes a 30-minute wall, then an hour, then 2 hours. Eventually, you reach a state of endurance excellence where you can outwork and outthink anyone in your field simply because you have a higher stamina for stillness than they do. Progressive overload for the mind. In the gym, you don't start by trying to bench press 300 pounds. You start with the bar and slowly add weight over weeks and months. This is called progressive overload. You must apply this to your focus. If you can currently only focus for 10 minutes, don't try to do a 4-hour deep work session tomorrow. You will fail, you will feel discouraged, and you will quit the program. Start with timed intervals. Set a timer for 25 minutes. During those 25 minutes, you have one rule: the work or nothing. You don't have to be inspired. You don't have to be fast. You just have to be there. You cannot check your phone. You cannot get up for a snack. You cannot switch tabs. You either work on the task, or you sit in silence staring at the screen. When the 25 minutes are up, take a 5-minute break, but a clean break. No screens. Just walk, stretch, or drink water. Then do it again. Once 25 minutes feels easy, move to 35. Then 50. Then 90. The goal is to reach a 90-minute focus block. Research shows that 90 minutes is the optimal window for the human brain to achieve flow, the state of peak performance where time disappears and your output becomes 500% more effective. But you cannot teleport into flow. You have to build the attention bridge to get there. The danger of microtasking. One of the biggest killers of the attention span is microtasking. This is the habit of doing dozens of tiny things throughout the day, responding to one text, checking one notification, answering one quick question. Each time you do a microtask, you are training your brain for short-circuit focus. You are teaching your neurons to fire in short, shallow bursts. If you spend all day microtasking, you are essentially training to be a sprinter who can only run for 5 seconds. But the big things in life, writing a book, building a career, mastering a skill, are marathons. They require a different kind of energy. You must protect your attention from the shallows. Group your microtasks into one single batch. Answer all your texts at 4 p.m. Answer all your emails in one 30-minute block. Stop letting your day be a series of 30-second distractions. Reclaim the long form of your life. Read a book instead of a thread. Watch a documentary instead of a clip. Listen to a full symphony instead of a 15-second soundbite. You are training your brain to hold a single thread of thought for a long period. This is the foundation of genius. Excellence is a form of endurance. In the modern economy, we like to think that success goes to the smartest or the most talented. But talent is a dime a dozen. The world is full of brilliant people who never accomplished anything because they couldn't stay focused long enough to finish a single project. Excellence is actually a form of endurance. The person who wins is the person who can stay in the intensity zone longer than anyone else. While the competitors are getting distracted, getting bored, and seeking stimulation, the focused person is still grinding. They are still refining. They are still present. An unbreakable attention span is the ultimate competitive advantage because it is becoming so rare. As the rest of the world becomes more distracted, the value of focus increases exponentially. If you can do what everyone else is too busy or too scattered to do, you will eventually own the market. You don't need to be 10x smarter than your competition. You just need to be able to focus 10x longer. Chapter 9 Exercise. The Focus Marathon. Tomorrow, I want you to perform a focus marathon. Pick one single, difficult task. Something you've been avoiding. Something that requires deep thinking. Clear the field. No phone in the room. No notifications on the computer. One browser tab. Set the clock. Set a timer for 60 minutes. The no exit policy. You are not allowed to leave the chair or change the task until the timer rings. If you get stuck, stay stuck. Sit with the frustration. Do not escape. Log the drifts. Keep a piece of paper next to you. Every time your mind tries to wander to a distraction, Make a small tally mark on the paper. This makes the rep conscious. At the end of the hour, look at your tally marks. You might have 20, 50, or even 100. That's fine. Those are 100 bicep curls you just did for your brain. Do this every day. Every day, try to lower the number of drifts while increasing the time on the clock. You are building a fortress of attention. You are becoming a person who cannot be broken by the noise of the world. Repetition, endurance creates excellence. Do not seek the easy path. Seek the long path. Train your mind to stay when others leave. Train your mind to listen when others speak. Build an attention span that can weather any storm. You are no longer a victim of the quick check. You are the master of the long focus. Chapter 10. Become someone who cannot be distracted. The shift from doing to being. We have reached the final stage of this journey. Up until now, we have talked about strategies. We have talked about clearing your desk, silencing your phone, and training your attention muscle. We have discussed the biology of dopamine and the architecture of the escape reflex. These are all powerful tools. But tools can be forgotten. Strategies can be abandoned when you are tired. Habits can be broken when life gets overwhelming. To truly master your life, you must move beyond practicing focus. You must undergo an identity transformation. You must reach a point where focus is no longer something you do. It is who you are. There is a profound difference between the person who is trying to stay focused and the person who cannot be distracted. The person trying to focus is still in a state of internal conflict. They are fighting themselves. They are using willpower to push away the distractions they still secretly crave. But the person who has transformed their identity has ended the war. They don't have to try to stay on task any more than you have to try to breathe. It is simply the natural expression of their character. The power of I don't. There is a famous psychological study regarding the language of temptation. Researchers took two groups of people who were trying to resist unhealthy food. The first group was told to say, I can't eat that. The second group was told to say, I don't eat that. The results were staggering. The I don't group were significantly more successful at resisting temptation over the long term. Why? Because I can't is a limitation imposed from the outside. It implies that you still want the thing, but you are being denied it by a rule or a diet. It requires willpower to maintain. I don't, however, is a statement of identity. It is a fundamental law of your existence. If you say, I don't check my phone during work, there is no decision to be made. There is no struggle. There is no quick check. You have simply defined yourself as a person for whom that action does not exist. To become someone who cannot be distracted, you must change your vocabulary. Stop saying, I'm trying to be more productive. Start saying, I am a focused person. Stop saying, I struggle with social media. Start saying, I am not a person who wastes time on trivialities. When you change the identity, the behavior follows automatically. You don't have to fight the small things when you realize that those small things are beneath the person you have become. The immovable mind. Imagine a mountain. The wind blows against the mountain. Rain pours down on it. Thunder rumbles around it. People climb on it and scream at it. Does the mountain move? Does the mountain react? No. The mountain is simply there. It is immovable. It is focused on its own massive, silent existence. This is the state of the immovable mind. As you move through the world, people will try to pull you into their drama. The news will try to pull you into fear. The internet will try to pull you into outrage. Your own body will try to pull you into laziness. The person who has mastered their focus looks at these things and sees them for what they are, weather. Weather is temporary. Weather is external. You are the mountain. You acknowledge that the wind of a distraction is blowing, but you do not lean into it. You do not let it shift your foundation. You stay exactly where you are, focused on your mission, until the storm passes. When you become untriggerable, you become dangerous to your competition and a hero to your family. You become the eye of the hurricane, the one point of absolute stillness in a world of chaos. The respect of the focused. One of the unexpected side effects of becoming someone who cannot be distracted is the way the world begins to treat you. When you are a reactive, scattered person, people treat your time like it is worthless. They interrupt you without thinking. They expect an immediate response to every trivial text. They pull you into their emergencies because they know you have no boundaries. But when you become a person of deep focus, something shifts. People begin to feel the weight of your attention. They notice that when you are working, you are unreachable. They notice that when you are talking to them, you are 100% present. You aren't looking at your watch or checking your pocket. Focus creates presence. And presence creates authority. The world respects a person who knows where they are going. When you stop letting small things break your focus, you are sending a signal to everyone around you. My mission is more important than your noise. This isn't arrogance. It is integrity. And strangely, the more you protect your focus, the more people will value the time you do give them. You become a person of high value because your attention is no longer a cheap commodity that is handed out to anyone who pings a bell. The deep life. As we conclude this book, I want to talk about the ultimate reward of focus. It isn't just about money or career success or checking things off a to-do list. The reward of focus is a deep life. Most people live a shallow life. They experience the world in 15-second fragments. They have wide networks but no deep friendships. They have many interests but no mastery. They are always busy but never satisfied, because they never stay with one thing long enough to taste the sweetness of the core. The focused person lives differently. Because they can ignore the small things, they have the bandwidth to experience the big things fully. When they work, they feel the intense satisfaction of mastery. When they love with their whole heart. When they rest in total peace, without the static of unfinished business. A focused life is a meaningful life. It is a life where you are the driver, not the passenger. It is a life where you wake up with a purpose and go to sleep with a sense of completion. The final charge. The small things are still out there. They are waiting for you the moment you stop listening to this book. Your phone is waiting. The drama is waiting. The itch for stimulation is waiting. But you are not the same person you were at the beginning of chapter 1. You now know that focus is a stolen resource you must take back. You know that discipline is built in the micro moments. You know that your environment is your destiny. You know that sacrifice is the price of greatness. The journey doesn't end here. It begins here. From this moment forward, every interruption is an opportunity to practice being the mountain. Every itch to check a device is a chance to perform a mental bicep curl. Don't try to be focused tomorrow. Wake up and be focused. Decide that your goals are worth more than the static. Decide that your future self deserves a mind that is clear, strong, and unbreakable. The world belongs to the focused. The noise is for the crowd. The silence is for the masters. Repetition. You don't try to focus, you become focused. Go now. Close the tabs. Silence the noise. The work is waiting. And you are the person who is going to finish it. End of audiobook.